Alright, I'm back. Gotta make this video quick because my phone only lets me record in high quality for 5 minutes till I step my game up. Alright. Watch the old video about the thermo switch. That's my first video I'll post on my page, YouTube page. I got the MISHIMOTO thermo switch. MISHIMOTO thermo switch. Look it up on Amazon. 40 bucks. Fits any Honda, any Acura, Integra. This is the original OEM thermal switch that cuts on at 203, makes the fan cut on at 203, drops down to 196 or something, then goes back up to 205, and it cycles from 205, the fan stays on, and it cuts off around 196. The MISHIMOTO cuts on at 176 degrees. Like I said, watch the old video. The first video that I posted on my page. I wired the power wire to the fan. The power wire is going to the OEM power wire to the relay in the fuse box of this car. So find your wiring diagram to your car that has the power wire to the fan. Wire up the fan wire to that. The ground wire to the fan. I have it to one of the pins in the thermo switch, and then the other wire to any ground on the motor or the frame. Once the bottom hose gets 176 degrees, the thermal switch connects inside whatever, and it'll give the fan ground, and the fan will cut on from 176. Actually, I'm wrong. The engine coolant temperature will say high. It'll be higher. Mine says 194 in the coolant temp sensor. In the head is hotter than the bottom radiator hose where I have the thermal switch. The thermal switch cuts on at 176 and probably drops down to 160 or something like that. So, because the original one, the OEM one, was taking too long because this had to reach 203 degrees. By the time that would even reach that, this shit would overheat. The Kpro has a safety mechanism, whatever, where it'll throw a check engine light on once the engine coolant temperature sensor reaches 228 degrees. And with the OEM one, the goddamn bottom hose was maybe reaching 190. It wasn't even near 203 for that to cut on. So that's why I got the MISHIMOTO fan switch, because that cuts on at 176 degrees instead of 203 degrees. So just watch the first video. I already told you where I ran the power wire to the OEM power wire to the fuse box for the fan, for the relay. Wire the ground to the fan ground, and then off of the thermal switch, wire the other wire to the pin, from the pin to any ground. Once you burp the coolant, you have to burp it all the way. Let it run, rev it, turn the motor off and on. Make sure you get all the air out. If you don't get the air out, I had a problem the first 2 days I was trying to make this work. I had so much air in the system that the bottom hose wouldn't reach 176 degrees. I thought the fan switch was broke. And don't use a lot of water. Make sure you have more coolant than water. Just buy buy preluted coolant, antifreeze. Please don't put water in it, because you're gonna run into trouble if you don't. If you have too much water, it'll create air bubbles and the bottom hose will never reach the temperature. You will think something's wrong, but it's not. Get all of the air out of the system. So this bitch works. It cycles on, the fan cuts on when the ECT, engine temperature sensor, says 194, and it'll stay on until it says 174. And I drove it around, it works good. It works perfect. And by the way, I have a MISHIMOTO thermostat too.